What's up guys, Sean here, and today we're going to talk about the same guy I talked about in my last video, doing the same thing I said he was doing in my last video, except to somebody else who responded to his last video just like I did in my last video. So Carlos Maza,
I'm done. I'm finally done watching Fox News. It's rotting my brain, and only boomers watch that crap anyway.
Yes, that Carlos Maza, who I last made a response video to about his video about how we should do gatekeeping against conservatives in media, and in particular Fox, has decided to double down on the core theme of that video, which is he doesn't care about differing opinions or any conservative opinions, and has started openly advocating for the banning of Steven Crowder. Now, after Crowder's most recent response video to his video about banning Fox News, he went on a long tirade on Twitter trying to get Team YouTube's attention so that eventually he can get Steven Crowder banned. In addition to this long Twitter tirade, he also edited together, like Media Matters does, a compilation of all of Steven Crowder's jokes against him in order to enforce the idea that Steven Crowder is only attacking him because of his sexuality and or his ethnicity, and not attacking based on his ideas, which if you watch any of the Crowder videos, except for a few jokes here and there over the course of the many videos that he's done, his attacks are clearly based on disagreements in policy positions and not attacks based on his innate characteristics. Now we're going to get into Carlos Maza's Twitter thread and his entire line of attack against Steven Crowder and why it's so shady what he's trying to do to Crowder. But I do want to point out that it is perfectly okay to criticize Crowder and criticize his way of delivering information. This is not a video being made as a fanboy of Steven Crowder. While I do like some of the stuff that he's done, I have had in the past major issues with Steven Crowder, especially his older videos which were filmed in this studio.
Stop conflating communism and democratic socialism because it's unfair and inaccurate, said the person who supportively sent me this Karl Marx video on YouTube.
Now I know what you might be thinking. Sean, what possible issue could you have with the clip that you just showed us? And I would ask you a question right back. Do you even have eyes? Wait, that was really insensitive. Let me take that again. I would ask you back, can you even see? No, that's also really insensitive because I guess the more apt question would be, can you even see color? Because look at how blue that curtain is behind Steven Crowder. Now look, I can tolerate a lot of things on the internet. People play fast and loose with their production quality all the time. But one of the things I cannot tolerate is autofocus in videos. But that's not what we're talking about. Another thing that I absolutely cannot tolerate is not white balancing your camera before you shoot a video and then putting it out on the internet. Now, it's one thing if you forget that step for like a few videos, but this was a consistent theme with Louder Rick Crowder when he was in this studio. That curtain was so blue, and the weird thing about it is, even if you did forget the white balance, or the white balance is not the issue, this is something you can fix with color correction in a basic editing software, or at least a professional editing software that has color correction. For instance, I will edit this on a 2011 MacBook Pro using Final Cut Pro, the trial version, and look how easily it was for me to fix the color imbalance in this video. I mean, seriously guys, I make these videos for you on a shoestring budget, but I can set my white balance and I can do my color correction to make sure everything's within balance within the normal range. But Steven Crowder in his old studio, where he still had some employees, for some reason, is giving me the blue curtain of death. So yes, there are plenty of legitimate and some kind of petty criticisms that you can bring up against Steven Crowder about things that have been bothering you for like 5 years that you never included in a video because you haven't talked about them in a video yet. So you just threw it in a video that really wasn't about that, but you just wanted to bring that up to put it out there because he didn't color correct for a long time and it bothers your eyes and you still think about it at times. Those are all fine criticisms, but what you can't criticize him for is being conservative and making response videos to you, and the impact that that has when some of his fans, or some people who are alleged to be his fans, go after you in malicious ways. And another thing I don't like about how Carlos Maza has been going about trying to get Steven Crowder banned is that he keeps invoking the LGBTQ community and his sexual orientation as a weapon against Steven Crowder and against YouTube as a method to get him banned. Crowder has made quite a few videos on Vox, and specifically responses to Carlos Maza's videos on Vox, and Maza cut together a compilation of all the supposedly bigoted attacks against him in Crowder's videos, and the compilation video that he made isn't very long, especially when you compare it to the overall quantity of content. So we have somebody who's on record for gatekeeping, specifically against conservatives. His last video was about how we should do gatekeeping against Fox News.
In an ideal world, political journalism looks like this. On either side, you've got the parties, fighting for the attention of the press. And in the middle, you've got journalists, sorting through what's important and what's just partisan bullshit. This is called gatekeeping, and it's one of the most important things journalists do.
Trying to get probably the biggest creator who takes the time to refute his claims banned from the internet through mischaracterization of what his videos are about. Crowder considers himself a comedian on the right. Carlos Maza is also one who's made jokes in his videos, or at least attempts at jokes in his videos in the past.
Now, I know what you're thinking.
Oh my god, who cares? It's Fox. None of us actually watch that crap.
Except you do watch that crap, Mary. You just don't realize it.
Mary.
Get it? He called himself Mary. It's funny because that's not his name. His name is Carlos Maza, not Mary. But he said Mary and then cut to himself saying, Mary? That's not my name. Comedy gold right there. So we have two people who are making political content from a specific perspective, trying to inject a little bit of comedy into their videos, and one person is mad at the other and trying to get them banned for it, while the other is just responding to the ideas and making jokes on that and him as a person. And it's not like Maza doesn't incorporate his sexual orientation into his public life. His Twitter handle is literally @gaywonk. And if you think that Crowder's rather tame jokes about Maza's orientation are somehow different from the Mary joke, which is funny because Mary's not his name. I don't know if you get that's the joke. He said Mary. If you think that those two are different because the subject matter is different and it's not okay to make fun of somebody's sexual orientation, but it is okay to make fun of somebody for not being named Mary, get it? That's the joke. Then Maza has no leg to stand on in that department either, because if you go through Maza's Twitter feed, he's clearly making jokes implying that Steven Crowder is making videos about him due to the fact that he's secretly attracted to him. Just like we talked about in our last video, Maza is in favor of rules that apply to his political opponents but don't apply to him. Unlike Maza, Crowder has never called for his supporters to do anything violent against his political opponents. He's never called for them to harass his political opponents. But Maza has blatant lies about Tucker Carlson in his Twitter bio and has been supportive of Antifa despite the fact that they are a violent movement in the past. In fact, Antifa showed up outside of Tucker Carlson's home to harass him and try to break into his house due to the fact that they believe the same thing about Tucker Carlson that Maza says about him in his Twitter bio. And probably the worst, most dishonest thing that Maza's been doing and saying in his quest to get Steven Crowder banned from YouTube is implying that YouTube, the platform, is not friendly to LGBTQ creators. Now, I don't often defend YouTube because a lot of times they cater too much to the rabid SJW crowd and they're quick to throw their own creators under the bus. But to say that YouTube, the organization, doesn't care about LGBT creators is absolutely absurd. YouTube goes out of their way to help LGBT creators. When the apocalypse first happened, which ironically was started by left-wingers in the media who don't get their funding through YouTube attacking YouTube, YouTube threw almost all of its creators under the bus as advertisers started to pull out, and they created the demonetization system for content that they find not advertiser friendly. This has been a tough time because YouTube hasn't given creators any indication on what the rules are about what is monetized and what isn't monetized, and it was clear they were perfectly willing to throw all of their creators under the bus because the company as a whole doesn't really like their independent creators. However, in the midst of all that, when YouTube was not standing by any of their creators, no matter how they covered specific topics, they weren't giving clear rules to any of their creators, it was discovered that they were actually demonetizing coming out stories and other stories from the LGBTQ community. So what did YouTube do when it was reported that they were doing that? They carved out a special exemption for LGBTQ content So those content creators could get monetized when everybody else who makes their living through this platform just had to deal with the consequences and the vague rules. And that's the thing with these SJWs. No matter how much ground you give to them, they'll never acknowledge what you've done for them in the past, and they'll always demand more. People like Carlos Maza are not ambassadors of the LGBT community. They're people who try to use their status as perceived victims in order to bully their political opponents off the platform. The gay community is not going to benefit from Steven Crowder being unpersoned on the internet. This is about somebody who can't stand up to scrutiny, trying to preserve their left-wing progressive bubble. Anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. If you like this video, then show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social medias. This has been me talking about a guy trying to get Steven Crowder banned. Till next time.